I decorated the entire house, lit candles, baked 3 pies, played his favorite jazz vinyl, and still, he walked in and said, "We don't want you at Christmas." Not I, but we. Like I was never part of the family to begin with. I stood there holding a tray of cinnamon rolls that suddenly smelled like betrayal. That night, I didn't cry. I opened my laptop, booked a penthouse, sent a dozen invitations. I wasn't going to beg for a seat at their table. I was about to build my own, and what followed, even I didn't expect. I vacuumed the stairs twice. The scent of cinnamon lingered like muscle memory in the house, the kind that made people feel like they were wrapped in a knitted blanket. The guest towels were fluffed, folded, and arranged in perfect thirds. Every light was dimmed to exactly 65%, warm enough to feel cozy, not theatrical. For 8 years, I'd orchestrated Christmas like a symphony. I knew which candle should be lit first, which pie to slice second, and exactly where the mistletoe should hang for family photos. This year, though, something felt skipped. No one texted in the usual family group chat. Josh hadn't mentioned his mother's travel plans or whether his sister would bring that obnoxious boyfriend again. I assumed the chaos would start late, as always, until I saw it. A photo posted to Instagram by my sister-in-law, a garland-covered dining table, everyone smiling, wine glasses mid-toast, caption, "Early Christmas dinner with the real crew." I checked the family chat, nothing. Then I noticed, at the bottom of the photo, my husband Josh, sitting at the head of the table, smiling like a man who'd gotten everything he ever wanted. My stomach turned. I scrolled, looking for comments. Then I saw it. "So glad Emily's letting you guys do your own thing this year. Must be refreshing." Letting? I stormed into the living room where Josh was lounging with his AirPods, watching a cooking show. I didn't raise my voice. I just asked, "When was this dinner?" He looked up, casually removed one AirPod and said, "Last night." I blinked. "And you didn't think I should be there?" Josh sighed, almost like he was exhausted. "We just wanted to do something different this year, a bit more low-key. You go all out and it gets intense." "We?" I asked, heart thudding. He nodded, then added, like he was offering a favor, "We don't want you this year. Just some family time, you know?" Something in me cracked. It wasn't the words. It was the normalcy in his tone. Like this wasn't betrayal. Like I was a dish they decided to skip this year. The house suddenly felt too clean, too arranged, like a set I no longer belonged in. I returned to the kitchen and stared at the tree. 8 years. I had handpicked every ornament, matched them to themes, colors, memories. This year, the tree was different, tacky, pre-decorated. I hadn't noticed before. It wasn't mine. I called my best friend, Janelle. She didn't even say hello, just, "I've been waiting for you to figure it out." "Figure what out?" I asked, still dazed. "Emily, babe, they've been phasing you out for months. You don't notice how you're not in any of their posts? How your name hasn't come up in conversations?" My voice cracked. "He said they didn't want me this year." Janelle sighed. "Girl, that's not just neglect, that's erasure." I hung up, walked to Josh's office. His work laptop was locked. I tried our shared calendar, empty. No meetings, no reminders. I opened the banking app. Our joint account showed a 0 balance. I refreshed. Nothing changed. I clicked through to our cloud drive, our family photos, saved spreadsheets for gift shopping, the Christmas playlists, deleted, or maybe moved. I wasn't sure. I just knew I had no access. I searched his name in my inbox. The autofilter had quietly stopped forwarding his emails 2 months ago. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Janelle again. A link. "Watch this," it read in all caps. I opened it. It was a video titled "Ghosted Wife Diaries: When They Delete You from Your Own Life." A woman sat in front of a white wall, tears in her eyes, recounting the moment her husband started treating her like a roommate he forgot to evict. My breath caught in my throat. I wasn't just forgotten. I was erased, and I realized then with terrifying clarity, this wasn't carelessness. This was intentional. I didn't cry. Not then. Not when I saw the bank account. Not when Josh said we. And not when I realized I had been deleted like a typo in a carefully edited life. I sat in my studio, the same one I'd once used to film holiday tutorials for 2 million followers. Now it looked like a war zone of discarded lights, faux snow, and half-baked aesthetics. I turned the camera on. No filters, no music, just me, in a robe, no makeup, holding a mug I didn't even pretend to sip from. Day 1 of being erased, I said into the lens. Apparently, I'm too much for Christmas. Too much joy, too much planning, too much existing. I hit upload. The next day, I did another. This time, sitting on the floor, surrounded by half-wrapped gifts and unused name tags. Day 2, I said. My husband said, we don't want you. I think we might just mean him and his mother, or maybe everyone but me. The comments came in like snowflakes, soft at first, then blinding. Girl, same. My ex ghosted me during Easter. This feels like a Black Mirror episode. By day 4, my series, 12 Days of Being Erased, was viral. People stitched my clips. Therapists broke them down. A woman recreated my set and did dramatic readings. I leaned in. Except this wasn't a breakdown. It was bait. What they didn't see was the second camera, hidden above, capturing everything I recorded, everything I edited, every facial twitch I calculated. I wasn't healing. I was collecting. Evidence, attention, influence, because grief was good for views, but strategy? Strategy was what I needed. I opened a burner TikTok account, different name, and posted the same clips from a third-party angle, framing me as a social ghost story. That account went viral, too. People debated whether I was real or an actress, whether it was a stunt or a breakdown. Let them guess. By day 7, the internet had crowned me the Christmas widow. Memes, fan art, even parody accounts popped up. But somewhere in that digital noise, a thread emerged, one I didn't plant. A clip surfaced on Reddit. Josh, at a work function, laughing with colleagues. The audio was low, but clear enough to hear. Emily's just a social burden now. I can't keep carrying her brand, too. It spread like wildfire. My followers ballooned. Reporters reached out. A daytime talk show invited me to speak. I declined. Not yet. Instead, I called Carla, an old friend from college, now working at a venture capital firm where Josh had been courting investors. She picked up instantly. Em, she said, you okay? No, I said calmly, but I'm aware. Silence. Then, you want the truth? Always. He's been pitching your brand as part of his startup valuation, says you'd promote it to your audience once you guys fix things. Investors love a redemption arc. I bit my tongue until I tasted copper. Thanks, I whispered. I got to work. The event took 2 weeks to plan. I booked a penthouse downtown, hired a PR firm under a shell name, invited every influencer, tech journalist, and mid-level executive Josh ever tried to impress. The theme was Rebuilding Joy. I called it a charity gala to support voiceless women of the holidays. Invites were printed, elegant, scented with cinnamon and resolve. Every envelope carried a name, except one. That one read, To the Widow of Reputation. I sent it to my mother-in-law. The event sold out in hours. The night arrived. The venue shimmered. Champagne towers, velvet table runners, gold calligraphy on every place card. I wore a dress the color of winter steel and walked with a calm so dangerous it scared me. The press showed up in droves. My entrance trended within minutes. People took selfies with me like I was a war survivor returning to court. Josh didn't have an invite, but he came. I watched him arrive from the mezzanine, wearing his best suit, confusion slowly spreading across his face like wine seeping into linen. He wasn't on the list. Security stopped him. He pointed toward me. I raised my glass from above, didn't wave, didn't smile, just sipped. I didn't attend the gala I built. People waited, whispered, scanned the room. Journalists kept checking their badges, wondering if they were being punked. My name was on every wall, every projection screen. But I never walked through the doors. Instead, at precisely 8:08 p.m., the lights dimmed. A hush rolled over the room like fog. The screen flickered, and then me, or some version of me. I sat in a completely white room, white walls, white floor, white chair. I wore a gray dress, hair back, no jewelry, no filters. A second figure entered the frame, a clone. Same face, same voice, but darker lipstick, sharper tone. She sat across from me. "Where did you go?" the clone asked. "I didn't go anywhere," I answered softly. "But they say you disappeared." "They stopped looking. That's not the same." The room stayed silent for several seconds. "Why didn't you fight back?" the clone asked. "Because the erasure was slow. When you're being deleted one pixel at a time, it feels like your fault." "Is it your fault?" I looked at the camera. Directly. "No." The clone smiled. "Then why are you here?" I leaned forward. "Because the only way to survive being erased is to rebuild yourself in a format they can't delete." The video glitched for a second, just long enough for viewers to question if it was intentional. I stood up in the video, walked to the corner of the white room, and tapped a wall. A panel slid open, revealing a mural, photos of me over the years, with people who no longer acknowledged I existed. I touched each image, and as I did, they turned into blank Polaroids. Then came the final line. "I didn't disappear," I said. "I just became a version no one could erase." The screen faded to black. No credits, no logo. Then a small message appeared. "This performance is permanently stored as a decentralized NFT, immutable, undeletable." The audience didn't applaud at first. They sat frozen, unsure whether they'd been part of art or ambush. Josh left halfway through. I watched it all from a suite above the venue, in a hotel across the street. Alone, champagne in hand, face lit by the screen. And when the live stream views crossed 3 million, I activated the second phase, the crime within the crime. I logged into an account no one knew existed. Username, EgoStarchive. The dashboard unfolded like a confession. Dozens of files, PDFs of financial transfers, audio recordings, screenshots, contracts signed without scrutiny, documents Josh had approved, legally binding, witnessed, notarized, back when he still trusted my attention to detail. I had spent a year building the perfect paper trail. The key? The trust clause. Josh had signed over financial authority in a temporary 12-month power of attorney meant to help me manage taxes and digital content licensing while he launched his startup. He never read the subclauses, never noticed the stipulation that, if not revoked by a specific date, the authority became permanent. The date had passed 3 weeks ago. I was now the legal owner of every joint asset we once shared, and I had receipts. One of the voice memos was particularly damning. Josh bragging at a golf outing that his wife just clicks things, and he lets her handle the boring paperwork. It had been emailed to me by someone who didn't like how Josh talked about women. That man, an investor I'd once helped design a home office for. Funny how life threads together. At 9:34 p.m., I forwarded the full archive to 3 inboxes. My lawyer, a reporter at The Verge, and the Securities and Exchange Commission. At 9:58 p.m., I received a reply from the SEC contact. Subject, inquiry acknowledged. Joshua M. Blackwell body. Ms. Blackwell, thank you for your submission. We're reviewing potential violations related to fiduciary misconduct and false valuations. You may be contacted for further information. I closed the laptop. In a world where men brag about building empires on women's silence, I just filed noise as currency, and it was about to cost him everything. I once hosted a DIY workshop on how to make Christmas wreaths from discarded wine corks. 10 women showed up. We laughed, shared holiday stories, and everyone went home with a handmade centerpiece and a sense of community. At the time, I thought that was the most meaningful thing I'd ever built. I was wrong. 3 days after the NFT stream, I opened my DMs to over 9,000 messages. Women, all ages, different countries. Some had watched in silence, others had cried. But most of them said the same thing. This happened to me. One wrote, "He didn't just leave. He erased me from the lease, the bank, and even our kids' birthday invite list." Another, "When I spoke up, he said I was too emotional to be trusted. My therapist believed him." Another, "You made me feel seen for the first time in 4 years." I started tagging those stories with a single phrase, "See ya, ghosted wives." The tag exploded. Within 48 hours, it had over 5 million views. Videos poured in. Face-to-camera confessions, animated recreations, even courtroom clips. Women shared receipts, gaslighting texts, voice notes of cold silences, calendar invites they were never added to. I posted a new video. Erasure isn't always loud, it's in the missed call that never comes. The holiday invite you hear about through someone else. It's being the wife who still cooks for a man who's already gone. By the end of the week, major media outlets were covering the story. Digital divorce, when husbands ghost their wives without leaving the house. That was one headline. My name trended again. And then, an email. Subject, "Emily, let's talk." From a Netflix original content exec. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Not because I wasn't interested, but because I realized I had leverage now. More than just views or attention. I had a movement and a plan. It started 2 years ago, quietly. Before any of this happened, I'd volunteered at a shelter for women recovering from emotional abuse. Not the kind you see in black eyes and police reports, the kind that takes the form of indifference, financial control, systematic silencing. I kept their stories. With consent, I wrote everything down. Dates, patterns, the way their partners manipulated time, resources, even memory. Back then, I thought I was just documenting for future advocacy. Now, I saw it for what it was, a blueprint. I contacted the women, 100 of them. "Would you help me build something?" I asked. They didn't ask what, they just said yes. We called it the Archive, a digital platform, encrypted, anonymous, designed to collect and store proof, screenshots, recordings, documents of relationship erasure. It wasn't just a vault, it was a mirror, a place where women could see patterns before they were trapped inside them. We partnered with lawyers, therapists, even a few ex-cops who knew how difficult emotional abuse was to prosecute. Within weeks, the archive had its first 1,000 uploads. Some were heartbreakingly raw, a Christmas card with one name scratched out, a shared bank account closed without notice, a birth certificate mysteriously amended. The press started calling it the most dangerous site for toxic husbands. Good. We set protocols. No revenge porn, no personal attacks, only verified documentation. Our mantra, silence isn't empty, it's encoded. My team, because yes, I had one now, urged me to stay out of the spotlight, let the movement speak. But I knew there was one message only I could deliver. So I said yes to the talk show. The host introduced me as the woman who vanished and came back louder. I sat in that chair, looked into the camera, and smiled. People asked me why I disappeared, I said. The truth is, I didn't. I paused. I just realized silence is my signature, and now it's everywhere. The room went quiet. Then applause. Later, backstage, the producer asked if I'd be interested in a book deal, maybe a limited docu-series. She said the world needed more voices like mine. I corrected her gently. No, I said. The world needs fewer women silenced in the first place. She nodded. I walked out of the studio into the cold air, phone buzzing nonstop. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. I felt amplified. The backlash didn't arrive like a tidal wave. It trickled in. One bitter comment, a snide tweet, a sarcastic TikTok stitch. At first I ignored them, assumed they were noise, inevitable static in any viral story. But then the noise grew teeth. A thread on X, formerly Twitter, gained traction. Is Emily Blackwell just another master manipulator, a narcissist in disguise? Thousands of retweets, accusations I never expected. She used her platform to stage a pity party. She planned everything. Who pre-records their trauma? She's just like her husband, but better at branding. The phrase better at branding stuck in my head like a thorn, because deep down I couldn't deny it stung for a reason. Then came the morning segment on daytime television. Josh's mother, Susan, sat on a beige couch under soft studio lights, clinging to a tissue with trembling hands. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "I never hated Emily," she said. "I welcomed her into our family. But what she did, recording us, manipulating public opinion, it wasn't just betrayal. It was evil masked as empowerment." The host, sympathetic, leaned closer. "You believe she orchestrated this?" Susan nodded, tears spilling. "I believe she planned it all. Even before Christmas, she weaponized the internet." Clips from my videos played on screen, paused at carefully chosen expressions, a slight smirk, a dramatic silence, a lingering gaze, framed like confessions from a villain. I watched the segment twice, not because I needed to, but because I couldn't believe how easily the narrative turned. By noon, several media outlets echoed the claim: redemption or revenge, the dark side of empowerment, the puppet master behind the Crester ghosted wives. Then came the photo, a grainy image from 5 years ago pulled from a now-defunct home renovation blog. I stood outside a warehouse, mid-argument with a contractor, face flushed with frustration, hand raised in a gesture that could be interpreted 100 ways. One headline ran with it: "Emily Blackwell, the real temper behind the tutorials?" It went viral. For the first time in months, I logged off. I turned off comments, disabled notifications, shut every app. I sat in the dark, and I asked myself the question I had feared the most. Had I become the very thing I escaped? Josh had erased me quietly, but I had retaliated loudly, with power, with strategy, with cameras and contracts and curated silence. In the mirror, I saw someone composed, too composed. I thought of the women in the archive, their trembling hands, their cracked voices, their hope that someone, somewhere would believe them. I wasn't them anymore. I was leading them, and I needed to be better. The next morning, I met with my financial advisor and my legal team. We went through every penny earned from the NFT stream, the media deals, the surge in brand partnerships. When they asked what I wanted to do with it, I said only one thing: give it away. A new fund was born that day, the Echo Grant, a nonprofit dedicated to helping survivors of reputational violence, those whose names, identities, and dignity were stripped from them in the public arena. Not just women, but anyone silenced by false narratives or systemic power. The announcement went live with no fanfare, no press tour, just a single post. For every woman erased, a record remains. The Echo Grant is live. Use it wisely. The same trolls who attacked me now argued over whether this was redemption or guilt. I didn't care. Their noise no longer entered my home, but there was still one thread to tie off: Christmas Eve. I sat at my kitchen table. Different house. Smaller, rented, but peaceful. A single candle flickered beside my laptop. My inbox was full of holiday wishes from strangers, old friends, even women I'd never met. And yet, one name still hovered in the shadows of my story: Josh. I stared at the message draft for a long time. Then I typed, subject, final gift body. I forgive you, not because you asked, not because you deserve it, but because I won't let your absence define my presence. Merry Christmas. Your gift is in the mailbox. Don't wait to open it. I attached the scanned SEC documents. Then I sent it. Outside, the wind moved through the trees like a whisper. Inside, for the first time in years, the silence felt earned. The video began with silence. No intro music, no logo, no montage. Just the raw sound of air. Heavy, unscripted, real. I sat in the frame like I had so many times before. Same studio, same chair, but this time, no lighting setup, no concealer. My hair was undone, eyes red, sleeves wrinkled. The camera trembled slightly, as if even the equipment was unsure about capturing this version of me. "This is the final upload," I said. 12 days, 12 chapters. And now, the one I never planned to share. I looked down, breathed in, let the pause stretch long enough to feel. "This version isn't edited," I continued. "No retakes, no cuts. I won't raise my voice. I won't defend my choices. This isn't for the algorithm. It's for the woman I used to be." My voice broke, and I didn't stop the recording. I let the tears come. Because they were honest, not performative, not weaponized, just the aftershock of a life unraveled and rebuilt from ruin. "I used to believe silence meant weakness," I whispered, "that if you didn't fight back loud enough, you'd be forgotten. But I was wrong. Silence is where the truth lives, undisturbed. And now, it's time I listen." I reached off screen, held up an envelope. Worn edges, addressed in my own handwriting. Inside was the first letter I ever wrote to myself during the breakdown, back when I still hoped Josh would change, before the archive, before the gala, before the storm. I read it aloud. "I miss you," the letter began. "The girl who used to dance in the kitchen, who asked too many questions, who thought love meant sacrificing volume." I didn't get far before I cried again. This time I didn't look away. I let the camera hold me, unflinching, unguarded. "I'm done erasing myself to make space for people who disappear," I said finally. "This is the end of the old me." The screen faded to black, and for the first time, no tagline followed. Just a single sentence in white text. "The end of the old me." I hit publish. Then I deleted the app, all of them. No announcement, no explanation, no digital footprint left behind except what I'd already given. The world reacted fast, as it always does. Articles flooded in. Emily Blackwell logs off for good. The final upload that broke the internet. Goodbye or beginning? I didn't answer, because I was gone, not disappeared, freed. 1 year later, I lived in a wooden cabin nestled deep in the Colorado mountains. No internet, no camera, no background hum of surveillance. Just firewood, a typewriter, and quiet that didn't ache anymore. I was writing a book. Not a memoir, not an exposé, a study. Communication collapse. How we lose ourselves in the need to be heard. It wasn't about Josh, or the archive, or even me. It was about the silence between people. The way we step around truth, dilute intention, mistake attention for connection. I wrote slow, deliberate. Each word carved like the wood around me. Clean, simple, earned. The first snow fell late that November. I woke to everything outside covered in white. The only sound was the shifting roof and distant crack of pine trees stretching under weight. I lit the fireplace, made tea, and reread chapter 4 of the manuscript. Then, knocking. Not loud, not urgent, but steady. I opened the door. A girl stood there, no more than 8. Blonde braids, cheeks pink from cold. Her boots barely left prints in the snow behind her. She held a small gift bag in gloved hands. "My mom sent this," she said, then added, "She told me you were the reason she didn't erase herself." I crouched down, suddenly unsure how to speak. "She said your videos made her feel like a person again, that it helped her leave my dad, and now we have a dog, and I get pancakes every Saturday." I smiled, swallowing a knot in my throat. "That sounds like a pretty good trade." The girl nodded seriously. "Mom says, thank you. She says, you remembered yourself, so she could too." She turned and skipped back down the path, crunching snow with every joyful step. I stood in the doorway long after she was gone. That night, I unpacked the holiday box from the attic. I hadn't touched it in 2 years. Inside were only 3 things: a string of warm lights, a ceramic angel missing one wing, and a foldable tree no taller than my knee. I set it up by the window, plugged in the lights, watched them flicker back to life. No party, no guests, just me. And for once, that was enough.